Ha 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 ha. Do you remember this house? I took you through here when they were framing this, and dabbity nabbit, I was hoping to get over here when they were doing all the rough in for the electrical and the plumbing work and the air conditioning duct work, all before them installing the sheetrock, but I didn't get a chance to do that. But I wanted to come over here, and the owners were nice enough. Thank you, Tom and Eric, wherever you are. They were nice enough to let me in here and show me the progress of what's going on here. Okay, and as you can see, they've already installed the sheetrock. They're getting ready for the next step. And you would think, what is the next step? You would think they would be spray texturing this. Well, they're not going to be spray texturing this. They've got tape top and skimming on here. And the guy was in here today sanding. He sanded all kinds of stuff downstairs, and he sanded the garage. Let's go out into the garage. I'll show you. I think this is the way to the garage. And it's dark in here because there's no light or anything, but I mean, you can see on the floor where they've just sanded it, and they did a really super good job. They're going to spray texture this whole garage out in the next couple of days, but they're not going to do any spray texture in here. What do you suppose they're going to do? Well, before we talk about that, it's been in this shape for the last week or so, and before that, it was all ready to be taped, topped, skimmed, and all that. But they couldn't do any of that in its condition. When you're building a house, what you got to remember, and what most contractors do, is they want the heaters on, and so they had to have the gas run, they had to have the gas hooked up, they had to have the gas meter installed, inspected, all that kind of stuff. And then they had to have the materials for their heater. I'm taking you downstairs where the heater is, and they had to install the heater 100% so that they could get heat in the house. Okay, here's the heater. And you can see that it's on. See? It's on for right now. They've got the gas line hooked up. They've got all this because they had to have all of that hooked up before the tapers came out. Because when you tape a house in the middle of winter, it's springtime now, but when you tape a house, you don't want to do it if it's too cold, because the tapers like to come. They like to come 3 or 4 days in a row. Boom, 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 boom. They don't want to do one coat of taping and then 3 days later, after everything dries, because there's no heater in here, come in here and do the top coat, and then come in here 3 days later and do the skim coat. No, they want to go boom, boom, boom. So they've had to have heat in here. And funny, this is their thermostat. This is their thermostat. There's something inside of there that's set up for 65 degrees. And when it hits 65 down here, that goes on. And then the heater goes on. And that's how they heat this up. And they wanted to do all that before they had the tapers come out here. And, when you're building a house, everything has to go just right. And different trades have to come in at certain times and that kind of thing. Boom, boom, boom. And you might think, oh, how come it takes so long to build a house? Well, because you lose time for stuff like you not having the heater ready and hooked up, and not having the gas line run, or having the gas meter inspected outside and have that all turned on and all that. They lost, I don't know, a couple weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks before they could get the taper here, even though the sheetrock was already hung and installed. And see here, they've got these filters, and look at all this white stuff on here. This is the dust. Look how dusty that is. And they actually screwed that on. I'm glad they did. See, there's a screw up there and one down here. Because the last thing you want is, when you have the heaters on, is for the dust getting up in there. Because when you sand all your sheetrock mud and stuff, see this here? They've just sanded this today. This was all swept up the other day, and then they sanded, and all this fine material gets all floated around. And when you turn the heater on, where do you suppose that dust goes? Boom, right through there. And so you've got to have those filters on. You got to remember to do that. And I thought there was another one in here. I guess it's upstairs. And in any case, they've got everything ready. Well, to a certain extent, they were down here sanding, but you can see they still have to sand a little bit here, don't they? And I noticed there's some other areas where they haven't actually sanded everything. I think they stopped for the day down here. But I was going to tell you what they're going to do on these walls. What they're going to do is they're not going to spray texture. They're going to float out the entire walls, the entire ceilings, and that is called imperfect smooth finish. They have to apply it all by hand. So if you ever hear someone say they have walls that are imperfect smooth, it costs a lot more to do that because they have to float out the entire walls, the entire ceilings, and then they leave little places where there's indentations, and it looks really cool when the guys who install it know what they're doing. It's going to look awesome when it gets done. It's called imperfect smooth. And so that's what they're getting ready for. They're getting everything prepped for it. And I was gonna show you what they were doing. See, they haven't finished down here. I can tell. And I'm gonna. It was interesting. Tom, he's one of the owners. He walked me through here real quick before that, and he was saying they're actually taking caulking and they're putting caulking around every single light switch box. And see, you can see this one's been done too. And the electrical outlet boxes, see that? And that prevents air from coming in and coming up into the wall. Even though they have insulation inside all these walls, you'll still get some air, believe it or not, coming through down on the first floor, coming up through the second floor. Even though this is the main floor, I'm calling this the second floor, but it's really the main floor, and then you walk down, which is cool because when you come in the house, you don't have to go up a flight of stairs to get up to your bedrooms and stuff. Most of your bedrooms on the main floor, and then you do this walk out. I call it a walkout. It's not really a basement, but I call it a walkout. So I don't know if you can call it anything else other than that or not. And anyways, that's how they do that. And if they don't caulk around here, then you get some of the air coming up through there. I didn't know that electricians do that, or builders. Now see, even around the light fixtures, look at that. They caulked around every single one of them. I'm looking up here. Here's another one right here. See? And even the air conditioning registers, I think they've done it around there. They missed a little spot right there, but they've done it around all that. It's just one added thing, you know. This builder is spending his time, and he must be a good builder because they're very aware of stuff like that. They like to have a tight house, and before they installed the sheetrock, any holes that they drilled down through the bottom plate to go downstairs or something, they filled that up with foam insulation. Let's see a plumbing. Let's see if there's a plumbing here. Yeah, here. See this? Here's how they install plumbing nowadays. No copper. No copper. This is for the hot. This is for the cold. And see where it comes up out of the floor? They've installed insulation, and they just spray it down there. Foam insulation. Spray it down there, and that's how they've left it. Isn't that something? Most cabinets, this is where they're going to have a vanity, a cabinet here, and a sink and stuff. This is a bathroom. There's a shower there and stuff. See here, here's where another vanity is going to be over here. Here's the hot and cold water going down there. But I found it interesting that nowadays most houses are like that. The plumbing for the hot and cold water coming up to the sink, come up out of the floor. When they install the cabinet, they're going to have to drill holes in the bottom, fish this out through those holes, coming up out of the base, and then they'll put their hose, their gate valve right here, and then they'll run an extension from there up to the bottom of the sink and all that kind of stuff. And see, they've put foam in there. And any place where electrical was, they did the same thing for that. And you know, this is just what a house is going to look like at this stage. I like the fact that they put bull-nosed corners. This is bull-nosed metal trim corners on the corners instead of the 90-degree corners, the tight square or pointy corners. That's old school. This is much better. This, especially with imperfect smooth walls, you want the bull nose, and see around the windows that they put the bull nose here like that, and they just haven't sanded around here. I don't know what they're going to do at the bottom. I'm not sure what their plan is around that particular window. Lots of the exterior windows, they're going to put window stool, wood window stool. See here, the bull nose for the windows is right here, and it goes up and around, and it's just the sides, it's not at the bottom, see? And they'll cut in a window stool, and then they'll wrap it and stop it out in here somewhere, put a little apron trim underneath it. They're going to be doing that, oh, pretty quick. Next, well, he said the next thing, maybe next week, after they do some more prepping, they want to come in here and start the trim. The trim meaning the door frames, the door jambs, the pre-hung doors. They'll install those and the door casings, and then they'll come and cut in the window stools, and they want to put other trim. I think he's talking about the baseboards. Now, I don't know how they're planning on doing that. Lots of this is going to be wood floor slats, and I would have thought they would install the wood floor before they install their baseboard at the bottom, but it'll be interesting for me to see what their plan is. But some builders do it different ways. You know, see, here's the caulking around the switch again, and they're just using this. They're just using this regular painter's caulking, all-purpose acrylic latex caulk plus silicone 40-year Alex Plus, and this is white. I use that a lot, doing different things, and that's what they're using. So we know they're not done. We know they still have to do all the exterior or the bottom walkout downstairs. See, here's another vent. This is a return air register, and they've put the filter in there. That's good, and they've actually screwed it up there so it's not going to fall out. See, you gotta do that when you throw heat in here. Now, how else could they have done this sheetrock mud without having a heater? Now, I don't know if it's okay. Years ago, when I used to do commercial jobs in the middle of the winter, a couple times, I remember we didn't have any heaters. You know what we got? We got big, huge propane tanks that were about, I don't know, about this tall, 4 feet tall or so. And then we got these big jet heater things that hook up to the gas tanks. And then we fired those suckers up and blew in there, and we had those on all night long. And we did that for, I don't know, 4 or 5 days to get all of the sheetrock mud dry. And I don't know if we were supposed to do that or not, because it's smelly, and I don't know if you were to light, let's say a cigarette lighter, if the whole building would explode or something, if you got a spark in there. I don't know. We ended up doing it because some other contractors are doing the same thing to get their sheetrock mud dry in between coats, because you don't want to you can't just put a layer of mud on and then the next day put a second coat on with regular mud, because your joint compound has to dry between coats, because as it's drying, it's shrinking. Now see here's some stuff they use. Lightweight topping, joint compound, and see they still have all these boxes of mud here, and even though they're all done, I'm thinking they're probably going to use this stuff right here for their skimming, for the imperfect smooth. They basically coat all of the ceiling, all the walls by hand. I mean, we're talking, this takes days. It's very interesting watching guys who really know what they're doing, but I'm sure this is what they're going to use for that. But in between regular joint compounds, between each coat, it shrinks. And you've got to have it 100% dry before you put the second coat on. If the first coat is not dry all the way, and you'll see where it's still kind of dark, you still can't cover it. If you cover it with the next coat, it's going to shrink again, and then you've just really screwed yourself, basically. Okay, so that's why they had to get the heat in here and do it that way. Okay, so I don't know what else I'm going to show you. I'm just going to take you downstairs. Here's a nice way to do stairs, and that's basically how most people install stairs. That there's a gap here for the sheetrock to put the sheetrock down there, and then they'll put a baseboard, a big wide piece going all the way down there, and then you don't have to notch it around the stairs. You just kind of fit it in that little groove. See? But let me just show you about this bullnose trim. See this bullnose trim? Somebody hit it right here. Okay, and look what it did. That crack right there, because the metal goes out to there. When I used to be a general contractor, this was years ago, and I had sheetrockers out. Whenever they put corner bead on for me, and then the corner bead they did was just the square stuff. It wasn't bullnosed. And I always had them run a piece of tape, sheetrock tape, down here. You know, it doesn't have to go from top to bottom. It could go almost all the way up to down the bottom, or a big long piece, let's say. Maybe I had them run it from the ground up 5 feet or 6 feet. Because if anybody hits this corner, that's where they're going to hit it. Here, they're not going to hit it way up there. And I'd have them put tape. They hated that. Whenever I told them to do that, I would check on them. Did you put the tape? Yeah. I'd look. Sometimes they didn't. Hey, put a piece of tape. I'm not kidding. I want it. Because if anybody ever hits one of these corners, then it cracks the line out. And if you put a piece of tape in there, it's not going to do that. Okay? And here, they didn't do it. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do it. Now see, here's bullnose 2. This is 45-degree angle. And usually when they do that, they might have 2 pieces in there, and it's covered with tape. There's actual tape there. You can't see it's metal here. See? And so when they sand this, they're going to have to be real careful, because they're not going to hit metal. They'll hit the tape first, and if you sand too much, then you start messing up the tape line. Okay? And you really don't want to do that. Well, they're coming along nicely with this, and I just thought I would kind of come over here and show you kind of what a house looks like up at this stage before they do their next step. And you know, from time to time, hoping to come over here, maybe after the paint gets done, maybe after the doors get installed, maybe after the cabinets get installed, and that kind of stuff, and just show you some other progress of this project, and what to expect if you're building a house, or if you're getting ready to remodel or something like that. Things to think about when you're doing your work. Let's take you up here. What else was I going to show you? I was going to show you something else too. I was going to show you their it was in the other room. Some of the tapers, they were using these stilts, and years ago they were outlawed. And you couldn't have them because lots of people got injured when they're working with these things. I'm gonna find them so I can show them to you. But let me just show you, oh, here they are. Here's a pair of stilts. See this? That's called a stilt. And your foot actually is up here. You strap this around your leg, and you strap this over your foot, and the stilt, and then here's your foot of your stilt, and then you can adjust that to how high you need it. Are you joking? Look at that. Look how high those are. If you fall from there, there's no way of catching yourself. You fall down on your face, you land on your elbows, you land on your knees, and you really got to be good at knowing how to use those things. Okay, and years ago, like I say, in commercial jobs, if OSHA came around and if they saw anybody running stilts, you'd get fined. I don't know if, apparently that doesn't happen anymore. Obviously, this is not a commercial building. This is a residential building, house. See, here's some other stilts here. See, and the other thing I was going to show you on this bathroom, this is how you would frame this out. It's dropped down about 1.5 inches. If you want a floor that doesn't have a threshold, this is basically considered a handicap accessible shower. They're going to end up putting a little piece of glass here and over here. There's going to be a glass door right there, and then they'll put a glass fixed panel up there. But then you can just walk from here, and they'll build this up with their concrete mortar, and then they'll float it on down. There's the drain down over there. But they'll fill that up, and then that gives them enough room to angle that down so that you can just go right in there with the wheelchair. I thought that was kind of slick, even though they're not in wheelchairs now. They don't need to be handicapped like that, but hey, nobody gets any younger. So if you're building a house or if you're doing a remodel, you might want to think about doing something kind of like this to a shower area. Now I've seen other showers where maybe the wall, depending on the configuration, mind you, and maybe it's just wide open, and this comes out further or something, and the shower, well, here the shower head's here facing this way, but it looks like there's going to be a handheld shower wand probably right there, or anything. Some end up having tile floor all the way over in this way, and tile all the way around here. Maybe you don't have a door, a glass door, or glass panels or anything. I've seen that someplace, and it looks pretty slick. But anyways, back to handicap accessibility. In all the bathrooms, I asked Tom, I says, hey, are you going to have them put grab bar backing in, just in case you ever want to install grab bars later on? Yeah, in fact, they did. And so in here, there'll be 2x10 pieces in between the studs on the back wall, on the side wall, so that later on, if they decide they want grab bars, they can just screw the grab bars right into the wall, and they won't have to put plastic anchors in there or funky grab bar anchors and that kind of thing. And I thought that was something nice. Now, another thing you could do for handicap accessibility for all your bathrooms, all your areas going into bedrooms and stuff, you could make all of your doors 3 foot wide. They didn't do that here. I can see, even without pulling out a tape measure, I can see they didn't do that. But that's something else. If you wanted to make your house handicap accessible, you'd have all of your bathroom doors 3 foot wide, bedroom doors 3 foot wide, maybe even your closets, so that if you had a wheelchair, you could go from anywhere. You wouldn't have to worry about, hey, can I fit through this door? Well, I can go through half the house, but I can't make it into this bedroom, and that closet, and boom, boom, boom. So handicap accessible would be probably 3 foot wide doors. You know, another something they could have done, but they didn't. That's okay. Hey, you get to decide how you're gonna spend your money and all that kind of stuff. And incidentally, through this house, look at that. See that red thing right there? Boom. What do you suppose that is? Did you know in some areas, here's some more red ones. See? Right there. There's another one down there. down there. Okay, they're all over. I see them. They're hanging. There's another one. There's another one. There's one. There's one. There's one. Here's one here. These are fire sprinklers. Some houses nowadays require fire sprinklers. Did you know that? This one happens to require it. It just depends on your county, in the area. Are you in an area next to a forest? Are there fires where you're building your house at? Even if you found out that your area did not require fire sprinklers, you might want to just put them in on your own, or have the contractor when you're building your house. Hey, I want fire sprinklers. I don't care if they're not required or not. I want them because if my house starts burning down, I want fire sprinklers in here. Did you know the old house that was in this location right here? Do you know that if they had fire sprinklers, their house would not have burned down? Okay. I'm saying that because their house burned down. It was a forest fire, and it came in here. Now, I say that it wouldn't have burned down. I'm not sure if it would have burned down or not. It came through a vent from outside, a gable-end vent at the roof. It came inside, caught fire in there, and the whole attic caught fire, and then it burned itself from the top down. The roof caved in, everything else caved in. This whole place was down to the ground. And I made videos of them cleaning this up, tearing down the foundation and the footings, and showing you what this raw land was before. And then I showed a couple other videos of the forms when they're getting ready to pour their concrete footings and their forms and all that kind of stuff. And then after they poured the concrete slab downstairs, I did a few. So, where you find this one, hopefully you can find those others. I don't know what I'm going to title this yet, but I'll put them all in that same playlist, and I'll have them on my YouTube channel. But I don't think they have any fire sprinklers like this up in the attic. I think they're just required from the ceiling on down. And the funny thing is, I went into the garage, and I was looking. There's no fire sprinklers in the garage, and I'm not sure. Obviously it must not have been a requirement. You look in here, I don't see any fire sprinklers sticking down. Do you? Well, it must not have been required other than inside the house. Well, if it would have been me, I would have told the contractor, hey, how much more is it going to cost? My word, how much more is it going to cost for you to put 4 fire sprinklers out here? Or whatever's required. They could have tied it into the rest of their system. Maybe their system was taking up all the water pressure. Maybe for some unknown reason, there could have been a reason why. But other than, I'm sure the building department did not require it. Funny thing, they didn't require it in the garage. Isn't that something? And speaking of the outside, they have some vents around their house outside that are supposed to melt if there's a fire outside, and if they're vents areas underneath their roof overhangs, if that ever caught on fire, those vents are supposed to melt and shut, and that's something different that I've never heard of either. But hey, things you got to think about if you're in a fire zone, right? I would be worrying about, hey, what about the attic? The attic, if you get a fire up in the attic, are any of these sprinklers going to protect you in the attic? No. And then once your attic gets going, it doesn't matter if you got sprinklers in here. By that time, your whole roof's caved in. This is all down. Yeah, these are eventually going to go off when the fire gets through your sheetrock, and the sheetrock comes down because all your ceiling joists are burned up and falling, and your roof is falling down on top of that. But I don't know. I just don't know what the deal is with that. Okay. So anywho, I just thought you might be interested in taking a look at a house at the sheetrock stage. Hey, next time I come in here, it's going to look a lot differently. And like I say, the next thing they're supposed to do, they're supposed to spray texture the garage, and then they want to paint the garage, because what they're going to do after that, I thought that was interesting too. They want to spray texture the walls, the ceilings, and then paint all this, and then they're coming in to install the garage doors, so that the builder can store some of his materials in here, his finished materials, his cabinets, all that kind of stuff. I thought that was very nice that at this stage, these garage door openings, they frame these in, they put plywood on them, and see, and that way they could lock up this entire house so that you don't have to worry about somebody coming in here, walking through the neighborhood, checking out your place. See here, here's their door here. It's locked. They've got one on the front door, and I told them I would lock that when I leave. And they keep this all locked up, and I thought that was really nice. But see, the builder's thinking he's going to install his garage doors, he's going to spray texture, he's going to paint this, and then he'll clean up all this stuff, and then he can start using this entire area, can he? Basically as a staging area. All of his pre-hung doors he's going to bring out. He's going to set them in here. All of his trim, all of his cabinetry, all of his tile, his floor tile, his wood flooring, all that kind of stuff can be stored in here. And then when he gets ready to paint all his doors, I don't know if they're going to use this area to paint all of the doors after they pre-hang them. Usually you'll pre-hang all your pre-hung doors, and you get them all set, put all the trim on, then you take the doors off, and then you would set them all in one place, either in a garage like this, and run them kitty corner, boom, 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 and then the painter walks through them and can spray them all. Normally they don't spray the doors inside, while they're in place. They don't do that. Or they might take this whole area here, set this all up for all of their doors. Because if you do it out here, you don't want to get the paint on your garage floor. So, for that reason alone, they'll probably have it all set up in here after all the sheetrock work gets done and all that kind of stuff. So, see, they'll do all the imperfect smooth on here, and then they'll have to dry that. Then they'll have to sand that. Then they'll have to get that ready to paint. The next step after that, they'll be in here painting before they do anything. Cracks me up when I see some of those HGTV shows where sometimes it's got the flooring installed and they still haven't painted the sheetrock. I'm thinking, it just seems silly to me to not do it in sequence, the right sequence. Because if you put your flooring down, now you've got to cover up the flooring so that you don't get it marked up, and so you don't get any paint on it, so you don't get any sheetrock mud on it, so you don't get any gouges on it or anything like that. Why on earth would you want to install the floor now? When you're building a house from scratch, you don't do it that way. There's certain things you do, boom, 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 boom. So the walls will get done, the painting will get done, and then they'll install all the doors and frames, the casing, the window stools and aprons, and then it goes, if they have any shelves, wood shelves for the closets, they might put the closet poles in and all that kind of stuff. If they have any cabinetry, fixed cabinetry, if it's not stained, if it's not pre-finished cabinets, then after you get all the painting done, now you put then you would put the cabinets in, and then you would stain those in place. Or if they're pre-finished, then there might be a different process to go. What comes first? And that's for the builder to figure out. And I'll be interested in seeing what they do after that. They'll probably start installing their cabinets, their kitchen cabinets, and that kind of stuff, and then their tile floors for their showers and their bathrooms and things of that nature. Everything has a step and a place when you're building a house. Okay, remember that. Well, that's all I got for this time, but I'll be back with more videos.